Hello, and welcome back to the Race the Standard podcast with your host, Kaylin Piles. Oh my goodness, guys. I am back in Texas. I just spent the past week in Tulum, Mexico, celebrating the big 3-0 birthday. And Tulum is absolutely stunning. If you've never been, you 1000% need to add that to your list of places to go. It is on my bucket list, and I was just feeling so grateful to be able to experience the experience that I had while I was there. And I just want to drop this and plug this really quick before we go into today's episode. But today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the 5 lessons that I've learned that are really important to me and that I wanted to share with you over the past 30 years. I was going to do like 30 lessons I've learned over the past 30 years, but then honestly, I was just thinking like, that's just a lot. That's just too much. And I don't think that 30 points would be very impactful. So I'd rather just have like 5 that are just juicy and very important and that I believe has really helped me get to where I am today in my own personal growth, my career, my relationships, my health and fitness journey, just my entire life. So these 5 things that I want to talk to you about are, just really important to me, and I think have really helped guide me to a better place all around in my life. But before we dive into the 5 lessons I've learned, I want to take a second really quick just to talk about Tulum and how incredible that experience was for me to be able to unplug from pretty much everything. I haven't had an unplugged vacation in about 3 years. So it just felt really, really good. And to be in a place where I've always wanted to visit and to be just one-on-one with my boyfriend and spending time, a lot of quality time together and experiencing new things together, it was 100% needed. And it was just a nice like reset, reboot, and helped me feel a lot more grounded, especially after an experience that we had. We actually went to an art exhibit called Mystica. And it's kind of crazy because on our way there, we had just seen a billboard about this art exhibit. And so we passed by it and I was like, oh, this seems super interesting. I would love to go. But we weren't necessarily nearby or staying nearby. And then about halfway through the trip, we were changing different locations for, we were just Airbnb, like hopping around like every 2 to 3 days. And our second destination ended up being very close to the art exhibit. And I 1000% recommend it. If there's anything that you do while you're in Tulum, if you ever visit, please, please, please go visit that art exhibit. It was absolutely beautiful. I have never owned a piece of art in my life, and I was just feeling super grateful that by the end of our tour, I was able to bring home one of my absolute favorite pieces by the artist, and my boyfriend had gifted that to me. So I need to find somewhere in my office to hang it up because that visual and the story behind the picture just really meant a lot to me. And I'll just give you a quick synopsis of it, or a quick like rundown of what it was. Obviously you can't see the visual, but it was a really cool story of the photographer who was just sitting around waiting for the perfect picture to take. And he was sitting in front of a log and he was getting quite frustrated because it just didn't look like it was going to turn out good at all. And so he sat there and he said to himself, this log in front of me is not the best log, and I am not the best photographer, but surely we can make something beautiful. And he said, about 10 seconds later, the sun had like set perfectly to where it was beaming these beautiful colors off of the water. And he snapped a photo, and honestly, the photo is absolutely stunning. And just hearing my words, you're probably thinking like, how the heck does a log look beautiful? But the photo is called Zen, and it's by the artist Pepe Soho. And you just have to look it up. It's absolutely stunning. And that message just meant so much to me because that just speaks so much truth in everything that is possible in all of our lives. You know, you're not going to be the best anything, but if you really put your mind to it, you can really turn whatever you want into beauty. And I just really thought that that was a beautiful message to remember, because so many times we think that we need to be perfect or we need to be the best at something in order to create something for ourselves or for our life, or to do something. But just remember that you do not have to be perfect, and you can create something beautiful if you just decide to just start and go for it. And I just thought that that was a beautiful message, and I'm just grateful that I was able to take that piece of art home. And yeah, I think that that kind of correlates with me rolling into these 5 lessons that I've learned over the past 30 years. So let's roll into that and get this party started. So lesson number 1 that I wrote down was habits and routines. Like, I know that sounds like super basic, but I would not be where I am today without having solid habits and routines in place, from my morning routines to my nighttime routines to my work routines, my health and fitness journey routines, all of that. And if you take a look at your current habits and your current routines in your life, it's going to be a direct correlation to what your life looks like and feels like. And if you have healthy habits, if you have, routines and habits that set you up for success, then yes, your life is probably looking a little bit more successful. It's looking a little bit more in flow. Whereas if you have unhealthy habits and routines in your life, then that can surely correlate to having a not so successful life. And so I know that that is the most basic thing ever, but just a pulse check to take a look at what your habits and routines look like, because so many times we get frustrated and get upset that we're not where we want to be. But a lot of times if we can just take a step back and actually ask ourselves, like, okay, like, what am I doing in order to set myself up for success? And you can find the answer there. You really can. And I think that as we're growing along this journey to get to wherever we want to be, whether you're in your career, your health and fitness journey, your relationships, what have you, a lot of times we want to reach a certain goal. And when you think about reaching that final destination and you ask yourself, okay, like, what are the habits and routines of someone who's in that situation or that outcome? And then we compare it to our current habits and routines. A lot of times we are stuck in our old habits and routines, thinking that it's going to get us to our end goal. And we just can't operate like that. Like that's very conflicting. And I mean, I've definitely been in that loop before, where I thought that I could sit in my current lifestyle and while trying to chase a certain dream or goal. And it's like a hamster on a hamster wheel, right? It's just, you keep running into the same wall and you keep running into the same problems, and change is uncomfortable. But making those small tweaks one day at a time to improve your habits and routines and shift them into whatever your higher self would be doing, it is so important. And so sticking to the basics, I think, is another thing that I wanted to say. Like, going off of that, is so many times we think that we need to do something absolutely crazy in order to, be successful in our health and fitness journey, or to be successful in our career. And that's exhausting when you're trying to always do literally the most. And 9 times out of 10, the thing that's going to get you closer to where you want to be is just by looking at the basics. You don't need to do anything extreme. 9 times out of 10, like even like if it's, let's just say health and fitness journey, you don't need to do this like massive restriction. You don't need to go to the gym for 3 hours a day for 7 days a week, no days off. We don't need to do that. It's the small incremental habits and routines. If we can just do that consistently, that's what's going to get us to where we want to be. And so one thing that I often say, and literally everybody says, but failing to plan is planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And I just love that quote. And I mean, the simplicity of it, I love. And you have to carve time out to prioritize your stuff. Like you have to take time to yourself to write out what you need to do. You can't just like say that you're going to go do something. You're going to forget about it. And so you need to have a habit or a routine of planning. Like you have to, whether that's at night or whether that's in the morning. I honestly do both. I try to really ingrain it into my head about any type of thing that I want to improve on. Trust me, I'm planning for it. And so I have notebooks like out of the wazoo. Like I am also a firm believer that pen to paper will help you with memory and will help you like ingrain things into your life or into your brain. And so definitely am a pen to paper type of girl when it comes to planning. And I think that's just super important to remember. What else have we got here? Oh, yes. So going off of that, just remembering that you can't wing it. You can't wing doing something, and winging it is like playing defense to your goals, whereas planning is playing offense to your goals. And so we want to make sure that we are playing offense to our goals and that we're getting ahead. And that way we're not waking up tomorrow and we're thinking, oh my gosh, like I didn't plan for this, like this happened, that happened. And you just start playing defense to everything, which not only puts you further away from your goals, but also affects your mindset. When you're constantly playing defense and you constantly feel like you're being attacked by your day, it's going to be very defeating for you and also take you way longer to get to where you want to go. So again, habits and routines are super important. Focusing on the basics is very important, and making sure to always remember that failing to plan is planning to fail. So we have to get on top of planning ahead all around, straight up. So playing offense every chance you get is going to be super important. So number 2, lesson that I learned very recently was energetic balance. And I see a lot through these 2 lenses now, as far as feminine and masculine lenses. And this was definitely never a thought or something that I thought about until I hit a breaking point in my life and I felt very burnt out, very run down, very emotionally closed off, and very numb to my feelings. And I didn't necessarily notice this myself because I didn't want to admit that I was burnout. I didn't want to admit that I was run down. I didn't want to admit that I was emotionally closed off. And so I didn't bring that awareness to myself until a few very close people in my life had mentioned it. And like when someone very close to you says something to you that you respect and love, obviously, you obviously you're listening, and you're like, okay, damn, like this person really loves me and respects me and cares about me. And they're saying this, obviously, not to hurt me, but to help me create awareness. And so when I started hearing this, not like from loved ones, obviously it got me to thinking, and it created this awareness of like, okay, yeah, I am a little burnt out. Like, okay, yeah, I am like running on E. Okay, yeah, like I am pretty emotionally like cut off and numb and not very expressive of my emotions. And so this past year made me go inward a lot and do a lot of the inner work. And obviously just having this event happen to me last year, it was almost like life. There was so much that happened to me last year, and my immediate response is to do more and to fix things and to ignore things when things are happening. But last year was the first time where life hit me so hard for so long that I finally just surrendered. And I don't mean that as in I quit, because I'm not a quitter and nobody in my life is a quitter, neither are you, but I surrendered. And what I mean by this is I decided to stop trying to fix things. I decided to stop trying to control everything. I decided to stop fixing things, because that's where my logical mind always wants to go, is just to control everything and to fix everything when things are going wrong. But sometime last year, I just finally decided to just fully surrender and to actually allow myself to feel everything that was happening. And like I said, I had to put my logical brain aside in order for me to finally allow myself to feel and to rest and to surrender. And this is one of the most eye-opening things to me ever, from someone who is constantly go, do, on to the next thing. If anything bad happens, okay, yep, on to the next thing, like don't even process anything at all. This was such a unique experience for me, because my entire life, I have always been in the headspace of, there's just keeping busy, pretty much keeping busy. And by surrendering this past year, it was scary. I was like, oh my gosh, if I surrender and I just rest, like, everything's going to start piling up and I'm going to have so much work to do. And I'm going to, yada, yada, whatever else I wanted to fill my head with. But what I actually ended up learning was nothing happened when I gave myself rest. Everything was okay. Everything was okay. And I actually allowed to shut off my brain, to rest my body, to rest my brain, and replenish myself for once, which is very hard when you go around with like a work guilt or a productivity guilt. And I don't know if any of you resonate with that, but I couldn't really put words on it. But after this incident last year, I had finally put two and two together and just really realized that I had been operating a lot out of like productivity guilt and work guilt, and just thinking like, oh, if I wasn't being productive, then what was the point? Am I even good enough, type of thing. And so surrendering really helped catapult me into my feminine journey, which you've heard me talk about a lot. But it allowed me to explore feminine energy and to really get back to my natural state of the feminine, and allowed me to learn how to keep things light again. And I would say that that's something that I'm pretty good at doing, but I definitely lost that for a little while. And that's just life, because we ebb and flow. But surrendering and exploring my feminine journey really helped me start to get back to seeing life as being light and fun and not so serious. So the energetic balance is super important. That's what I have to say, because we need our masculine and we also need our feminine. And for me, my feminine was definitely being neglected. And I needed last year to happen in order for me to understand this and for me to finally surrender and embody my own feminine energy. Number 3. So this is my favorite one. I actually really, really love this. And I've never heard actually anybody really talk about it. And that is the fact that you can identity shift into literally anyone that you want to be with the right mindset, aligned actions, and commitment, of course. But identity shifting is something that I'm very obsessed with and I have a lot of experience with. I have told my story on this podcast a few times about, I want to say my quote unquote past life because it feels like a past life, but obviously it was just a few years ago. But when I was younger, I really feel like I did a lot of identity shifting in order to conform or become someone that I thought other people wanted me to be. And maybe you can resonate with that. But there's obviously a time in my life where I was a softball player. Now, I am very, very, very athletic, 100%. Yes, I am. But I was never passionate about softball at all. I just knew that I had to do it in order to get my school paid for. And so with the right mindset, aligned actions, and commitment, I obviously became a softball player and got a Division I scholarship to play in college. And that was my first realization of identity shifting. And then the second time around was when I was told that the only way to be successful was if you're a math major or a science major. And obviously now, like, no, I do not want anything really to do with like math or science. That's not what I feel called to do whatsoever. But again, I identity shifted into someone who was really good at mathematics. Now, was it easy? Obviously not, like not at all. It wasn't easy, but I was very capable of doing it. And I feel like I identity shifted into that. And again, with the right mindset, aligned actions, and commitment, I was able to graduate with an integrated mathematics degree from college. The next way I saw myself do this was obviously when I first started my business, The Higher Standard. I have zero background in business whatsoever, but with the right mindset, aligned action, and commitment, I knew that this was the first time I felt truly aligned with my identity shifting. And it was a really cool path that I took because, yeah, just this time of my identity shift, it was more aligned with what I wanted to do rather than what I felt pressured to do from anyone else. And so that identity shift was really cool because I went from an athlete to and a math major to now I'm a business owner and I'm damn good at business and I love business. And that identity shift was so amazing. I still love it. I love geeking out about business. And the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the fourth way I have gone through an identity shift was the journey that I'm currently on that I've been talking to you about is my feminine journey and me completely identifying as like full-blown masculine. This identity shift has been very unique, but again, I'm so happy that it's an aligned identity shift with what I actually genuinely want to do. But again, with the right mindset, aligned actions, and commitment, I'm really fully seeing like the benefit of me shifting into more feminine energy and just seeing and reaping the benefits in all areas of my life, from just like my own like personal like feeling about myself and my life. Like I just feel really good and I just feel way more aligned and like I can breathe. But I'm seeing obviously the benefits in my relationship and I'm seeing the benefits in my business and my dynamics with my team members and the way that I show up on social media and the things that I talk about and the way that I carry myself. And even seeing like the benefits of this identity shift in my health and fitness journey and just having a feminine approach in my health and fitness journey. It's been a really cool identity shift. And like I said, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. This is one of my favorite things to teach and to help other women do. Identity shifting is such a cool concept, and literally anyone can do it. It just obviously, like I said, takes the right mindset, aligned action, and just commitment to get there, and just being super crystal clear on who you want to be and where you want to go. I have literally like the entire roadmap to creating a life you're obsessed with. I am like full blown, like transparent with how I did it myself, how I literally went from not doing anything with my life to being where I am today, from having a very unhealthy relationship, with food and with my body, to being very confident and very happy with where I am with my body and my health and fitness journey. I have so many different stories of just identity shifting in all areas of my life, and really being able to pick back up the pen, rewrite my story, and create a life I'm obsessed with, like one area at a time. And I'm just very passionate about talking about it and helping other women do the same. So number 4 is the 1% better mentality. And I use this in all areas of my life. And what it basically means is that instead of focusing on everything that you have to do in order to get to your goal, to just focus on 1% improvements from the day before. And so just for simple terms, if we're talking about health and fitness, if you ate out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday, then a 1% better would be making breakfast at home today and then eating out lunch and dinner today. And then the next day, maybe you cook from home for breakfast and lunch, and then maybe you eat out for dinner. And it's all about just like, again, just making 1% better improvements instead of getting overwhelmed with how much work you have to do or everything you need to change all at once. You have to think about it with all areas of your life, remembering that health, career, and relationships, those are things that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And you don't need to have 100% transformation tomorrow. Nobody does. And once we can get past that mindset of we need this right now, that like needy energy, and just focus on 1% better, like improvements, you're going to save yourself and your sanity so much. So when it comes to 1% better mentality, primarily I use this in my health and fitness journey and my career, because obviously those things are like legit lasting me a lifetime, and obviously your relationships too. But if you just focus on 1% better every day for 1 year, that's already 365% improvement. So like you're good. And when you think about it that way, that kind of gives you this, oh, okay, 365% improvement from where I am right now. That sounds great. That sounds epic. And that's only going to take you a year. So if we get out of this headspace that you need to have like 100% turnaround tomorrow, and realize that you can have 365% turnaround in a year, like that's doable. It's less pressure, and it's just going to be more sustainable all around in whatever you want to do, whether it's starting a business or being on your health and fitness journey or improving your relationship or whatever. But the second thing coming out of that lesson that I learned is being unattached from the outcome. And this took me a while to learn, especially in my health and fitness journey. I was always obsessed with the outcome, like a lot of us are. And that would put so much pressure on me, and my headspace was not good, to say the least. So learning how to become unattached from the outcome allowed me to finally focus on the enjoyment of today. And the same thing for your career. If you're not where you want to be, if you keep focusing on, I need to get there, I need to get there, I need to get there, we forget to enjoy the process. We forget to enjoy the journey And that's what life is. Even when you do get to wherever you want to go, I promise you, because I've done this so many times in my life, I've built my dream body, I've built my dream career, I've done a lot of these things, and that's not to flex or to flaunt. I really hope that every single one of you become the most successful, and I hope you hit your goals, and I hope you hit them quick. And I hope you hit them quick so that you can come to this realization that I'm about to say right now. But the moment you reach that goal, that your body goal, your career goal, your relationship goal, whatever, like, you're going to realize that you really don't feel that different once you get there. And the entire time on the way there, you were unhappy because you thought, oh, when I reach that goal, then I'll be happy. But that's not the truth. Like, that's not the truth. Like, once you get there, you're going to be like, okay, well, what's next? So you might as well just be happy today and every single day along the journey, and learn to fall in love with the journey, because it's always going to be a journey. The moment you hit that goal, you're going to have a next goal. So we have to learn how to be unattached from the outcome and fall in love with today. Okay, number 5. I actually made a couple bonus ones too, so stick around. But number 5 is one of the most important things that, ever in my life. One of the most important things ever in my life that has helped me in so many ways. And that's moving before I'm ready and taking messy action. If there's one thing that I can literally ingrain in your head, it's to take messy action and to move before you're ready, because our brains can sit there and contemplate and tell us a million reasons why we shouldn't do something. It will come up with every single excuse in the whole entire book. But when you are given that gut feeling, or when it just drops in your head that, hey, you need to go do that thing, or hey, you need to sign up for that thing, or hey, you need to do this, or you need to do that. Like, the moment that comes into you, like, that was sent to you for a reason. Like, you're meant to do that. Don't fight that urge. Like, that message came to you because you need to act on it. It would not have come to you if you were not capable of doing that thing. So if you have that urge, if you have that spark of like, hey, we got to start our health and fitness journey, like, hey, we got to lose 40 pounds, like, it is your responsibility to act upon that would not have came to your head if you were not capable of doing that thing. You're more than capable. You will find the resources to do that thing. You will find the people to help you along the way. You will find the motivation. You will find the habits and routines, but you cannot get to that goal unless you start and take messy action. You can't let yourself get into your head. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting there, and you're going to be sitting there for quite some time. So this is definitely something that I feel like I have mastered, and that has definitely proven to get me further in where I want to go a lot quicker. So a little cheat code for anyone who wants quick results, it's to take messy action. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get overnight results, but you're going to get a lot quicker results if you take action now than if you take a year thinking about something, or being on the fence about something, or going back and forth. Because by this time next year, I know you don't want to say like, oh, I'm still thinking about it. What are we thinking about? There's so many people that have probably done what you were thinking about doing. And literally the biggest difference is that they just took messy action. That's it. They weren't more prepared than you. They weren't smarter than you. They didn't have more resources than you. They just took messy action and figured it out along the way. So messy action always. Okay. Oh, I wanted to say this about this as well. So a lot of us obviously get very overwhelmed by everything that we have to do in order to reach X goal. And a lot of times that's what kind of stops us from taking action, because we're so overwhelmed with all of the steps or all of the things that we have to do. But if you can just think about what's the next best step and begin there, that is your starting point of taking messy action. So for instance, if you wanted to start your health and fitness journey and you thought about everything that you've tried and everything that you've done, and you're like, I should probably, like, the next best thing for me is probably hiring a coach. Like, I know I need the accountability. Then we need to fill out the application and we need to hire a coach. If your goal that you have is to start a clothing brand, instead of thinking about 5 million things that you have to do for the clothing brand, you need to think about the next best step that's going to help you with that. And maybe that's hiring a coach for someone who does that. Maybe it's setting up a Shopify. Maybe it's sewing together your own clothes. Maybe it's advertising it on your own Instagram. Like there's these little steps that we can take that are going to eventually build momentum. And that's all you need. You just need to build momentum. This first leap, this first step is always going to be a little bit scary, but it creates that trust with yourself that you believed in yourself to even take that first step. And that's going to give you the confidence, and it's going to give you the accountability to the life that you want to create. Like, it's going, like, once you take that first step, again, like even connecting that with like identity shifting that I was talking about, like the messy action, like the moment you take that first step to messy action, you're already starting that identity shift of like, here we go. I'm doing it. I'm committed. I said I was going to do that. Like, that is like the most epic part of your journey, is that messy action first step that builds that momentum. And I love that part. So that is number 5. And then I do have a bonus for you guys as well, because I didn't want to cut it off too soon. But number 6 bonus is personal development is queen, like straight up. Like, I can talk about personal development all day long. I think it's one of the most important things that all of us have to do. Self-mastery and self-focus. I know a lot of people say like, oh, that's selfish, like, oh, that's selfish, but it's not. If we can do the inner work and we can figure out ourselves and we can become the best version of ourselves, we can help so many more people, like so many more people. And so I really encourage you to go all in on yourself and to never stop your self-discovery journey, because it literally never stops. Like, life is full of curveballs and lessons and challenges. And one of the most powerful understandings that I had in my journey this past year was understanding energy. And I know I already talked about that, but I just wanted to also include this short glimpse of what I mean. And this lesson that I learned about being primarily in my masculine, I learned that I am a very logical thinker. I'm always in my head. Like, if you bring me a problem, I'll literally help you find a solution. That's what I want to do. Like, immediately, that's what I want to do. I realized and recognized that most people, if you bring them a problem, they will bring you support, love, emotion, those types of things. But for me, if you bring me a problem, it's a solution. And so that's something I never, ever thought about ever in my entire life until this past year. And what I learned was, when it comes to healing, I learned there's only so much that I could think through logically. And just depending on which you identify with, whether you are more logical or you're more emotional, I believe during your healing process, you need to surrender and be okay with healing in the opposite way that you normally run. And so if you are more logical, you are going to benefit way more during your healing journey if you allow yourself to be more in your body and get in tune with your emotions, because you can't think yourself through the healing. And if you identify more with being more emotional, I believe that in order to heal, there's a lot of logical work that you need to go through in order to heal. So that is something that I have worked on a lot this past year in my own healing journey, is to tap into the opposite, which is my emotional side, and to get more in tune with my body, because I can talk through problems all day long. I can find the solutions all day long. And but I never felt like I was actually breaking through. I kept feeling stuck, and I was like, this is so crazy. I found the solutions. I'm doing solutions. Like, why do I not feel better? Why do I still feel stuck? And again, learning about energy as well, when we're going through things and we're constantly pushing it down, and we're never expressing our emotions, and we're never expressing our feelings, and we're constantly pushing things down, that becomes stored energy in our bodies. And so what I learned, as being just someone more on my masculine and more logical, is I had a lot of stored energy in my body. And so that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was just like, what? Just kind of like learning about it, but it makes a lot of sense. And so I learned a lot about breath work. I learned a lot about somatic therapy, and we did a lot of crying sessions, a lot of like release type of sessions, which is just so important to be able to get into your body in order to release energy, in order to just shake things off. And so I thought that was super important, and a great lesson that I learned over this past year as well. And yeah, those are my 5 lessons, with a bonus one for you, of lessons that I learned over the past 30 years that I think really helped me in this life. And I also wrote down 4 very quick, short, to the point ones that I just thought would be important for you as well. So number 7 is to make time to read. Like, we have to remember, and I totally did not think about it this way until this past year, when I finally decided to surrender and rest. And so I ended up reading a lot over this past year, and it just made so much sense to me. I was like, wow, we really need to make way more time to read, because you have to remember that that author literally spent their entire life learning and dedicating themselves to whatever topic it was. And now you get to read all of that in one book. Like, you were just absorbing so much knowledge and intelligence from incredible people like around the world. And when I just thought about it that way, I was just like, dang, like that one author just condensed every single thing that they committed their life to in one book. And I get to read that. And now I get to gain all that knowledge. Like, they just took their 70 years of life, condensed it into one book, and allowed me to learn all of that in a few days by reading that book. That's really cool and very powerful. Number 8 is lavender. I know that sounds really silly, but if you've never have taken, this is not a recommendation, do your own research, obviously. But lavender is a very calming supplement, and it has really helped me just feel more calm and relaxed, and not take life so serious all the time, once I started implementing that into my supplement regimen. So team lavender all the way, chill vibes. So going off of that, number 9, nothing in life is ever that serious, legit. If you find yourself always taking life so serious, I really encourage you to let loose and to try to be a little bit lighter. Life isn't that serious. I promise you. Try to be a little bit lighter, keep things light. Number 10 is really important. Just important reminder for all of us, is that you will literally always be okay. You will literally always be okay. And to always remember, you've been through hard things before, and you got through them. You're here today, you're standing, you're alive. And no matter what life brings to you, if it's more challenging than the last, or, maybe it's not, you're going to be okay by the end of the day. And I believe that to my bones. I don't have any fear that any of us will not be okay. We will always be okay. We'll always figure it out. So Okay, well, that is all that I have for today's podcast. I am officially in my 30s, a brand new decade, and just feeling so light and so excited for what's to come. And I just have so many things that I want to bring to the world and to share and to just continue spreading this message with all of you and with our community. So that is all I have for today. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I would really appreciate it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or both. And if you leave a written review, I would really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And if you wanted to reshare this on Instagram, be sure to tag me at Kaylin Piles, and I will chat with you later. Have a good day.